So the question is, which statement about the trend across the period is correct? When we move across the period, moving from left hand to the right hand side, it will become the metallic character decreases, like more non-metals are there. On the right hand side, we have mostly non-metals. On the left hand side, we have mostly metal. So the metallic character is decreasing. As we go down the group, the metallic character increases. So when we check, aluminum is more metallic than sodium. When we check the position, so sodium is there, then magnesium, and then aluminum. So aluminum is more metallic. No, that's wrong. Aluminum is less metallic, because as we move across the period, the metallic character or nature decreases. Beryllium is more metallic than carbon, because when we check, we have beryllium, then we have boron and carbon. So that's true, because beryllium is on the left hand side element. Across the period, you will have the periodic table in exam. So elements on the left hand side of a periodic table are more metallic as compared to elements on the right hand side. Then boron is more metallic than lithium. So when we check, we have lithium, beryllium, and then boron. So boron is more metallic. That is wrong. It's not more metallic. It is less, because boron is on the right hand side, lithium is on the left. And magnesium is more metallic than silicon. So when we check magnesium, aluminium, and then silicon. So yes, magnesium is more metallic. So it means this statement 2 and statement 4 are correct. So C is the right answer. So most metallic on the left hand side and at the bottom of the periodic table. Less metallic on the right hand side or top of the periodic table. In question 36, astatine is a group 7 in the periodic table. Astatine is, because as we go down, the reactivity decreases. Fluorine is there, chlorine, bromine, iodine, then astatine. So as we go down the group, what we'll observe the reactivity decreases. So element become less reactive as we go down the group. So astatine will be less reactive. The melting point. So melting point, as we go down, first two are the gas, then chlorine, bromine is a liquid, iodine is a solid, and astatine is also solid. So melting point, as we go down, it increases. So astatine melting point will be higher than iodine. And color, as we go down, chlorine is light yellow, fluorine is light yellow, chlorine is yellowish green, bromine is red brown, iodine is black or purple. So the color get darker as we go down the group. So the reactivity is less, the melting point is higher, and the color is darker. So A is the right answer for this. Then which row describe the properties of typical transition element? The melting point should be high, they should form a colored compound, and they can act as a catalyst. So it should be high, yes, yes. So B will be the right answer. Even transition element or their compound, both can be used as a catalyst. Why is argon used in electric lamps or filament lamps or bulbs? For example, if this is a tungsten filament, so why there is argon present? Why we use argon? Because argon is not reactive. It does not react. So this filament will last for a longer period of a time. If it was filled with air, air contains oxygen, and oxygen is an active component in air, which might react with tungsten and reduce the strength of the tungsten. Which statement about nitrogen and phosphorus is not correct? When we check the periodic table, we have nitrogen in group 5, and then we have phosphorus also in group 5. Both belongs to group 5. They're in the same group of the periodic table, that is true, both belongs to group 5. They're in the same period. It can never happen. If element belongs to the same group, they can never be in the same period, because the period changes only as the number of the shell changes. In case of nitrogen, it will be 2 and 5, whereas phosphorus, it will be 2, 8, and 5. So it will have 3 shells. So phosphorus is period 3, where nitrogen is period 2. They both are non-metal, that is true, and they have the same number of electron in the outermost shell, that is also true. So B is not correct. And always remember, if element belongs to the same group, they can never be in the same period. Sodium and rubidium are in group 1 of the periodic table. Which statement is correct, or which is a right statement? Sodium atom have more electron than rubidium. That's wrong, because sodium is there in the top and rubidium is there at the bottom. So the number of electron and proton number increases. So sodium cannot have more, it should be less. Sodium is having a lower density than rubidium. As we go down, the density increases. So that's true. The density is lower. So sodium atom is having more electron than rubidium. That is wrong, because it cannot have more electron in an atom. It should have less. When we check B, sodium has a lower density. What happened to density for group 1 or all the group? The density increases as we go down the group. So at the top of group we have low density, and at the bottom of the group we will have high density. So sodium should have low density. That is true. About the melting point, as we go down, the melting point decreases for group 1. So sodium will have high melting point, rubidium will have low, so that's wrong. And sodium is more reactive, that's also wrong. As we go down for group 1, what we observe, the reactivity increases as we go down. So this is also not the right statement. So statement B is the correct statement. Which property Which properties do the element chromium, iron, vanadium have in common? These all are metals, transition element. All metals can conduct, even it's a transition or a non-transition, all metals can conduct. They or their compound can act as a catalyst. That's also true. They all form colored compound. That is also true. So that's why A is the right answer, that all the three statements are correct. Argon is used in electric lamp. What is the reason? This is a repeated question. So because it is unreactive or does not react. A period of a periodic table is shown. So different periods are there: group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, and so on. The letter are not their chemical symbol. Which statement is correct? R does not conduct electricity. That is wrong, because R is a metal and metal can conduct electricity. R and Y react to form ionic compound. This is R and this one is Y. Y will be a non-metal. Metal react with non-metal, so it will form an ionic compound. So B is right. Yeah, that's right, B. Z exists as a diatomic. Z is a group 8. Group 8 always exists as a monoatomic. Like you will always find one atom. And Z react, group 8 are unreactive, does not react with any substance. Some properties of element X are shown. Melting point, it's having a low melting point. It gives off hydrogen when react with cold water, so it gives an idea, and it burn and give a white. So number one, if it is forming a white solid, it cannot be a transition. If it is reacting, it cannot be group 8. So we are left with group 1 or 7. But group 1, when they react, group 1 elements, when they react with water, they give off hydrogen. Like lithium react with water, it will give lithium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. So that's why A is the right answer. Group 7 does not, they can dissolve in water. Some of them can dissolve in water as a result, but they don't give off hydrogen gas. The table shows some properties of element: high melting point, colored compound, and high density. So it means they're talking about the transition element. So what are the characteristic of transition element? Other characteristics, so they can act as a catalyst. Not brittle, they are strong. They don't form acidic oxide, either amphoteric or metal or basic oxide. Highly reactive, they don't react with water easily. They are not reactive. Group 1 elements are reactive. Question 46, why is argon used? Because argon is unreactive, that's why we use in a electric lamps. Element in group 1 of a periodic table react with water. Which row describe the product made in the reaction and trend in the reactivity? So what are the product whenever these group 1 metal plus water, as a result they are known as alkali metal. Alkali or metal hydroxide is there, plus hydrogen gas will be there. And what happened, trend, as we go down the group the reactivity increases, so become more reactive as we go down and give off metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. So we'll observe bubbles fizz due to this hydrogen gas. In 48 the equation is there between the halogen and aqueous bromide. Always the more reactive halogen can displace less reactive halogen ion. So if we have fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, as we go down the reactivity decreases. So it means if we want to displace this bromine, here we should have more reactive than bromine. So either fluorine or chlorine. But there is no option of fluorine, only chlorine. So this should be chlorine. And what is the color of bromide ion? All ions, chloride, bromide, iodide, they all are colorless. They don't have any color. But when it will form a bromine, so it will turn out to be brown. The bromine molecule is brown in color, but bromide ion, chloride ion, these all ions are colorless. So always the more reactive halogen displaces the less reactive halogen ion from its compound. In question 49, an inert gas is there which is used to fill a weather balloon, so that is helium. How it exists? It exists as a single atom, like we don't find He2. All non-metals except group 8 are mostly diatomic except group 8. So group 8 we don't find He2, we find only helium atom. And how many electron? Because helium is having, if you check the periodic table, helium is having atomic number 2. So 2 protons are there in the nucleus, 2 neutrons, because 4 minus 2, 2 neutrons, and there are 2 electrons in the first shell. So number of electron in the outer shell, that's its first shell only, that's 2, and it exists as a single atom, that's why B is the right answer. Rest other will have 8 electron, but only helium will have 2 electron in its outermost shell. Then question 50, elements in group 1, when they react, it's a repeated question, they form metal hydroxide and hydrogen, and as we go down the reactivity increases. 51 also, it's a repeated one, chlorine reacted with bromide ion to give bromine molecule. So chlorine colorless and brown color. And 52, which is also a last question, and again a repeated, that helium gas is used, which is having 2 electron in the outermost shell, and it exists as a single atom. So these are the questions related to topic periodic table, about 52 questions, and repeated questions were also there. So on average about like 40 questions will be there in this overall sheet. So this topic periodic table is done. Next session we will start new chapter which is about metal and extraction, and that is a very important topic, as you will find many questions related to that topic in the past papers. Any question or a doubt related to the class today?